Hello folks and welcome back. I'm going to be down the allotment soon. We've got a little bit of sunshine. Look, I'm blinded at the moment, but I thought we'd start with a little back garden update because Jess is busy in the garden. She's really taken charge on the garden actually recently. But what's going in the pots, Jess?
Roses!
She's just bought more roses. How many have you got now?
7, but one was a gift. So like 3.
That's quite a lot. But are these going in the front garden?
Yeah, these 3 in the front garden because they're very low maintenance and the front garden is...
Is what? The garden itself is looking, I can't lie, pretty tired. Apart from the roses. You know, I've always said that roses aren't my favourite, but here they are, doing the garden proud at the moment. Jess has been busy with, oh my God, have you poured something out on here?
I left the wheelbarrow full of water.
But there's loads of bulbs starting to poke through already, which is a little bit concerning because it might be maybe too early.
These are tulips. I'm a bit nervous because they're not meant to be sprouting yet, so I'm just going to throw a little bit more soil on top.
I'm sure it'll be fine, I'm sure. Is that the lasagna?
No, that's the lasagna.
Oh.
Scooch.
Dog in the way.
But nothing yet.
Okay. There are some little signs of life. There's some foxgloves. Did you plant those properly?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were planted from seedlings. The forget-me-nots somehow surviving the frost. Jess is holding up another thing to show you. This is Jess's volunteer peppers. You were really annoyed when they first grew, and then you got invested. The raised beds we did after we finished these. Jess just put in a few little bedding plants here and there, and yeah, they're just about hanging on. Look at this one. This is one anti-rhinum flower that just about survived somehow. I think we replanted that. Oh, what are these ones? These are wallflowers as well.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have something growing, even if it's only a little thing. There's so much nigella, self-seeded everywhere, always in our garden. The cold frame did not survive the storm, unfortunately. Jess is playing with her roses, always. She's got another one in there. The 2 main beds are, wow, they're really starting to sink, actually. You can see we put a lot of decaying material in there and they're starting to sink down, which is a good sign. That means it's just decomposing. That is a weed, this one. Oh wow, I can't believe how much the soil level's fallen. Down here, this was our... We actually did a video about some really late summer sowing. And, well, there is some germination, but it's all weeds. Apart from, that's an aquilegia, but that's not meant to be there. Aquilegia? Is that what it's called? Yeah, so not our biggest success, these ones, unfortunately. And then we've got lots of little wild areas that are still about and upsetting Jess, but brilliant for all the wildlife. The pond is looking fantastic. Not much life flitting about this time of year, though. The garden's very much been kind of put to sleep. We don't use it much in winter. You know, this is the first time we've both been out here in probably the best part of a month. Jess has been doing little bits and keeping on top of it a lot more than me. But anyway, next step, to check the trail cam. This is kind of the routine by now. I set it up and I had a quick look at this. I was pointing at the polytunnel door to see if anything was trying to, you know, get in through the fencing. And I just had a little look on the screen and I think I set it up badly. Let's have a little look at the footage. So this first clip is me leaving, and I panicked when I saw this because they do not look like my clothes, but they just show up completely different in infrared. So thankfully that is me, no intruders. But yeah, the actual footage, it was quite foggy at night. And pretty much everything looks like this. I think there was just a little flash of a fox walking by, and then another one there, just barely perceptible. Little eyes catching the light, but mainly it's just that one branch reflecting the light. Oh, he come back. Oh, there's 2 of them. I hadn't seen that. That's quite cute. But yes, basically just a few clips of this. Very, very foggy foxes kind of wandering around, and no evidence of them scratching or anything like that, which I suppose is good, although this is the worst footage I've ever made. Yeah, sorry about that. Or maybe it revealed something interesting I haven't seen on the plot just yet, but the good news is no more damage. So far, touch wood, so good with this fencing. Turns out it just needed a little bit of a deterrent. And like I say, so far, the foxes haven't been back for a scratch. But I'm not just on the allotment today to check the condition of the tunnel. I do want to get a few bits done, and I was hoping to dash to Halford's to pick up a load of cardboard, basically to lay down on the beds and start some new no-dig beds, because we've run out of all the, the big cardboard that you get that makes life so much easier. But the car was full of stuff. Got in it, I was like, damn it. And it starts to get quite stressful because there's just no time in the day at the moment. So, we've got some light, we've got some actual blue sky, just about. So it makes sense to do something physical on the allotment while there's some light. One thing I do want to do is cover these manured beds, and this is the Mike method. I've been saying about my friend Mike, who got me very, very kindly, got me this horse manure, fresh horse manure. And he says what you do is you cover it with an impermeable material or something that's going to keep a good amount of water off. Now, cardboard does let the water soak through, but if cardboard is all I can get, that's what I'll use. He uses kind of hard plastics like Proplex or that kind of thing, because it stops all of the rain washing the nutrition out of the manure. Obviously, if that happens, you're still going to have a nice texture to grow in your beds, but obviously we do want to keep as much of that nutrient locked in the manure as possible. And the other thing is, been having a few ideas about the tunnel, and I really want to try a hotbed. I was reading about it, the book, the Jack First book that Steve was recommending on Potty Mouth a while back. Potty Mouth is back, by the way, if you hadn't noticed. Links in the description. Me and Tony did the soft launch, gave it a little go. We're not doing it live anymore, but there's still the premiere kind of feature. So there's the live chat, but we pre-record it, so it's much more chilled out, much less stressful. So glad. But I've been reading about hot bins and the way that you kind of pile up manure in specific ways to get the heat built up. And then from sort of January, you can start sowing a lot of crops. And if you do it in the tunnel, if I do it back here, I think it would take up maybe a third of this bed, maybe a little bit more, but I need to source an awful lot of manure and it would just be perfect. I think it would be really, really cool, but I need to get my hands on the manure because all I've got now is just a few bags left, and they are going to be going into the no-dig beds on plot 2 over there. There's a few more to do, and that's kind of some of the main jobs at the moment, is spreading manure, sourcing something to cover it, to lock in the nutrients. There's a bed to build there as well. And one thing that I think I might start doing is tidying up these beds a little bit, leveling them out, and maybe some wood chip for these central paths. So I might dig this one over a little bit as well and just kind of prep these beds. I think that's the perfect job for today. That's going to warm me up a little bit. There's a slightly odd mix of things in here now, kind of wood chip path that used to be a path and it is now going to be the bed. But I think spread that out and it will be okay. There's a lot of calendula that somehow survived the frost and lots of green manure that's just poking through. This was a bed that's going to become a path. Lots of spring onions there, absolutely huge, that I'm going to pull out today. And I'm going to take the leek harvest as well. That looks like leaf miner damage, doesn't it? Which is a bit of a shame, but a good leek there, good chunky leek. So I think we'll start with that, shall we? Start with a harvest. Unfortunately, I've run out of carrier bags. I normally have loads up the plot, but I'm just going to be putting these leeks into this bag of compost for now. And the leeks have kind of done okay this year. I've got some autumn leeks and some winter leeks, and the autumn leeks are, well, they're not really built for this temperature, so they're generally not huge, but they're still eating. What I'll do is I'll harvest all of these as a bulk and then just freeze up a lot of them. Some of them have become very wiggly and unhappy. I'm not sure if it's minor damage. You see where it's kind of burst out of its layers of growth. I think that's normally caused by leaf miner damage. And oh yeah, I think there's little bugs. Oh no, see the tiny little one there? I have a feeling that might be like the pupa or something. That up until now I've just been really lucky with. Never really had it. So I might be finding some nasty surprises when I process these up at home. And leeks are a bit of a funny one because for me, they've always just done quite well. They've I always put them in and they just kind of get on with it. When it comes to harvesting though, I can never remember what I've done. They go in so late, and normally by the time that they go in, it's sort of June, July, and I'm starting to lose the plot a little bit, getting towards that end of that main spring gardening season, and you just end up kind of exhausted. And oh yeah, these are not as happy as they normally are. Oh, it's leaf miner. It is. Oh, what a shame. Still usable leek though. It doesn't look like, you know, really severe damage. So what I'm going to do, harvest all of these, and we've got a bed now, so it will be much easier to build something, you know, just hammer something into the corners and drape some of that mesh netting over it or something like that if we want to avoid leaf miner. Leeks have always been for me like one of the really forgiving crops, you know. I never get it quite right, but no matter what I do, I always seem to get a pretty decent harvest. And I've always been so lucky that for whatever reason I've just never had allium leaf miner until now, which is a bit of a shame because now I feel like I've got to do it properly. If I actually want leeks, I've got to do it properly. And they're just my favourite kind of crop, you know. You leave them in the ground until they're ready, and when you take them home you can just freeze them up so easily, or they store for quite a long time in the fridge as well, so they're just a very forgiving crop. I'm getting absolutely freezing, so what I need to do, get rid of this, take a few of those home, and then I think it's wood chip time. I just need to get moving, move some barrows. I should probably clear this as well. This one hasn't, oh yeah, that's a good job actually. I'll get some manure, then I'll clear this one, and that'll get me moving, because this one hasn't been green manured or anything like that, so I can just go over that, give it a good weed. I think what I'll do with the verbena, because it's so lovely, I'll just cut it down to the base. And we do a bit of what's called polyculture. You know, I do like quite a few just flowers dotted in amongst the veg beds. I know it sends some people crazy, but it lifts my spirits and it doesn't seem to do the veg any harm either. So I just cut those back, leave them underground, and unless we have a really severe frost, they should come back next year. You can see I've got some fennel stems in here as well, and I like to leave as much of that as possible for all the insects to overwinter in. Those hollow stems are perfect for ladybirds, which you obviously want to be resident on your plot. Just quickly grab these spring onions. One of the things about the leeks and this kind of thing, it's quite tricky when you're doing kind of mulching or no dig, and I've got this lovely layer on top that stops the weeds growing, but as soon as you pull them up, all the soil comes off and it all gets a bit mixed in. So I don't think there's any way of getting around it. You need to mulch every year. And with the compost centre stuff, what I like to do is mulch a little bit later. So kind of March, I think I'll give this another really good mulch. Maybe. Anyway, it's always a bit kind of play it by ear on this plot. You know what it's like. Folks, hello. I lost the battle with time, so this is a part 2. It's actually Friday today, so I think last time I was filming was Wednesday. I hope that's correct. Anyway, brain's a bit scattered. I've just been losing the battle with time. You know, there's just not enough time this time of year. I said time too many times. Wow, okay, so let me show you what I did, because I did get some stuff done that Wednesday evening. Got a good feeling that a lot of this is imperceptible, but this bed is now much squarer. Got a brick weighing down that corner, but before it was like all up at one end. So you can see I've had to kind of dig out the back a little bit, and now that's sitting nice and square. I need to do the same thing with this, because that is the high corner. This one has been squared up quite nicely, and so has this one. I say squared up, what I really mean is leveled, so that they're not, you know, completely on the wonk with a massive hole underneath the bed at any point. This one needs a bit of digging over, but I have made this little path. Nice, giving it a good topping of wood chip. And believe it or not, just doing those kind of 2 beds and that bit of wood chip was, I don't know, 2 hours or something. I was scrabbling around in the dark under this netting on my, you know, crouched up like a little goblin with my head torch, trying to get it all sorted. But that one is done. I do need to do this one, although that one isn't too bad. That one I could probably get away with it. But that's kind of, that's where my momentum is at the moment. I'd quite like to get all of those finished, get the paths wood chipped, just so that it's one more thing off my mind. We've had a new delivery of manure from Mike, which is just fantastic. Absolute star, you know. I always thank my patrons. Thank you so much for all the patrons who make these videos possible, but Mike is doing me a solid as well, giving me a nice supply of free manure. I've been thinking a lot about manure recently. It's just kind of in the back of my mind all the time. And you know, sometimes you get one of those like impulsive thoughts, and I was really toying with the idea of buying a van. Like a proper old, you know, like a rust heap, just something that I could try and get for maybe like £1,800, something like that. Something that's going to be really unreliable and dodgy, just so that I can load it up with tools and manure and, you know, all that crap, and not have to worry about our quite clean car. But yes, so now I'm just going to get my head down, focus on getting this bed leveled out, this nice and wood chipped, and then getting that one done as well. I'm just going to get my headphones on, not going to time lapse or anything, just want to focus on, you know, getting some work done while there's actually some sun. It just feels like no time ever at the moment. So while I've got some sunshine, I'm going to make some hay, you know. I'll see you in God knows how long, and I'll let you know how it went. Listening to an amazing audiobook at the moment, some William Hope Hodgson, some proper old school spooky stories. This should be super quick to go through. I just need to use the miller. And it's the leveling of the beds that really takes some time, but let's get it done. Okay, so I'm making some very steady progress. So what I've done with this one is, instead of digging out the back one, because I've always been a bit nervous, if you dig this out, then you're kind of sinking the timbers, and these aren't built to, you know, really last that long, so I don't want them buried and getting really wet. So what I've done is just built up this edge here. It's all right, really difficult to point on camera. You can see what I mean, with kind of wood chip and a little bit of soil. So that bed is level now, and I will just have to keep on top of that over time, because that's going to rot down a little bit. I've got one covered over, but I've stopped because I have to show you something. I've got this one kind of, give it a really good weed. I know earlier I said I quite like to keep the borders and all that kind of stuff, but where I'm just getting all this right in the first instance, I think, you know, there's just a little bit of destruction this season, unfortunately. I might try and leave this one as a bit more wild, because I do like that. But look at what I've just found. I cannot believe this. And look, I've already dug it up, so you might not believe me, but I promise this was grown here. I've just dug this up, and it was one single carrot. And I remember I did a really late sowing, maybe kind of late July, August, all over this bed. I think I did about 4 rows of carrots, and we got one. It's just my nemesis, it really is, but that might be, believe it or not, one of the best carrots I've ever grown. And just to show you what I'm up to now, if I come right down, hopefully you can see just how much higher that bed at the back is. Much higher than this one at the front because of the slope. So what I'm kind of doing, because I want a wood chip path here, is just digging this material out a little bit, which is fantastic, because I've got all the raised beds at the back that just need material. They just need something to grow in before plants hit the clay pan after 3 inches of topsoil. So that is fantastic. And then before I put wood chip on this path, I'm going to put down a little membrane just of cardboard. Not really a membrane, but you know what I mean. Just a little mulch so that all the weeds aren't going to immediately start growing up through the wood chip. A lot of these paths have gone on bits where I've already done that, so that's really fantastic, because I know that there's not much weed pressure in those paths. But this one, I did need to bring up some cardboard, but I did that today. I actually brought it up, so we're making progress. We're making progress. Little wood chip dance. I am just about happy with these. In a perfect world, what this needs is actually terraced beds. You can see this one is just sat on the soil, and this one is basically at the same level as the path now. So that's not ideal, but this will rot down quite a lot, and so this will be able to breathe a little bit more. You can see it's just starting to bow as well, so I do need to, there's not much weight on there and it's already bowing, so they do need supporting. But I'm pretty happy with these now. I know they still look a little bit messy, but all of this green is green manure, so probably not going to do too much for these. Let them go, see what they do over winter, kind of maybe level it out a little bit. There is one little gap on this bed here. This one is all covered over, really nice. I'm very happy with these 2 brassica beds. I do need to do the path down there, but well, I can't be bothered to do it today. Maybe I'll do it another day. The issue is our wood chip supplies are running quite low, and it's got to the point where there's still quite a lot of wood chip, but in amongst the wood chip is loads and loads of bindweed roots that I really do not want to be spreading all over my allotment. So I've only been taking the good stuff, and I've can't do this bed, and this bed is an absolute state, you know. Trying to get this higgledy-piggledy bed level is a job for a different day, I think. I'm just not going to tackle that one today. So what I do want to do is a load of work on the second plot. So I want to get this fresh manure covered over so it's not going to all leach into the soil. I will probably leave this well composted manure. The kind of, well, from my understanding, it's kind of a little bit of compost and soil science, is that once you've got something like this which is composted properly, most of the nutrients are going to be locked in. So this is really well rotted manure. You can see the different colours. This one is black essentially, and this one is a light brown. There's still quite a bit of bedding in here, as well as the proper little nuggets. And that, on the other hand, is going to be leaching. When it rains, all that nutrient is going to be falling through and going into the soil and then running through into the ground, and that won't be available to the plants in spring. So I want to kind of lock that away, get that covered. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that one. I might just leave it as is. And then with this one, where I've got a fresh bed, there's kind of I guess there's a couple of options. The traditional one would be to dig this in and then mix in a load of manure as well. And when you mix in the manure, it's similar to covering it. It mixes in with the soil and there's a lot less leaching. Or I can cover this with cardboard and then go with compost on top, or the well-rotted manure. If I'm putting the non-rotted manure, this stuff down, this is going to be full of weed seed, which is kind of something that you have to accept if you're using fresh manure that goes straight on your beds. So this one I know is going to be weedy. That's fine. You just kind of hoe it off in spring and hopefully that'll be good. This one, what do I do? I'm not sure. What I think I'm going to do is go with the fresh manure. Get that into this bed and the bed I was just looking at, cover them over, and then maybe in spring what I might do is like a mulch with the composted stuff, so that just kind of does a bit more weed exclusion. Maybe hoe it off, get it mulched, and then we'll have a nice kind of weed-free surface. That's my theory anyway, and I just love chucking around a load of horse manure. It's great fun, and it gets you warm. So it's quite mild today. Oh, that's heavy. Oh, that is a gross one. Wow. I was reading actually about the benefits of straw in the hot composting book. This bedding and straw is actually almost as important as the manure itself, because, not to be too gross, but it gets soaked with horse urine, which is essential to the composting process of this. Hopefully, just weighing this lot down with a few bricks will be enough to, I mean, it's not going to be completely watertight. There's still going to be some rain coming in here, but it's not going to be that heavy driving rain, and this should allow it to all be mixed up by the worms underneath. In theory, let's see how it goes. Absolutely fantastic progress today, folks. So I've got all the fresh manure beds covered over. It took quite a long time actually, because I had to do a lot of chopping up these compost bags. Luckily, I'd kept all the bags in the shed and I was planning on taking them to a garden centre to recycle, but they've come in really handy. Look at this one. This has been quite a bit of work. I do really want to get this path done as well, but I think I want to use membrane for that. But yeah, same with this, it's membrane, you know, it's something to keep the water off, to help all of this break down and retain those nutrients. Now, the last bit I've got to do is this, But I've got to show you something again. It's almost exactly the same as the carrot situation. I was working around here and it just caught my eye and I just had to see what was underground. Look at this. That is a proper parsnip. That is a proper parsnip. I mean, it's not absolutely gigantic or anything. I don't think it's going to win any competitions, but it's the right shape. It's an actual big chunky parsnip, and I'm really proud because I just followed Steve's advice on this. This was all the idea of doing the parsnip competition. Direct sown straight into this new fresh no dig bed. Bloody amazing, absolutely over the moon, and they can just stay in the ground now. We've had our first frost, so hopefully it's going to be super sweet. I'll take that one home today for eating, and I'll leave the rest in the ground just to harvest when we need them. Hopefully we can have some for Christmas dinner. Oh, that is the good stuff. But this bed here, I've sort of run out of fresh manure. I have still got some fresh manure, but I'm definitely going to make a hotbed in the tunnel. I just think it's a really cool idea. I think Steve probably was going to try it in the tunnel. He was just really starting to read about hotbeds and getting a bit excited about the idea. And so I want to do it as a bit of a nod to Steve in the tunnel. And so what that means, I've just put one bag of the fresh stuff on here, moved it around a little bit, and now what I'm going to do is put some cardboard on here and make this a traditional kind of no dig bed with the composted manure. This stuff, when it's been left in the elements, is just really quite gross. Even though it's well composted, and you can tell by the colour, oh, the smell is not pleasant. I'm tempted to cover these over with these bags just because it's so wet. I might actually do that, which I wouldn't normally, but should give it the chance to dry out a little bit. So hopefully better to grow in later on. It's full of worms, which is great to see. Oh, it looks so good, this stuff. £3.50 a bag as well. I think it's such a bargain if you get the bulk order. The other thing about it being this wet is it makes it very difficult. Oh, I hope you can't hear that squelching. That is actually gross, but it makes it very difficult to spread and rake over. Wow. Just needs a little bit more over this end in particular. Oh no. Yeah, this might need another bag, actually, which is quite a lot, but you just can't get a fine layer when it's this wet, and I've got plenty kicking about, so one more bag. Oh, this has been some tough work today. I don't know why, it doesn't seem like it should have been. Just cutting up some bags and moving some stuff around, but I'm feeling it. And in fact, this has been not a great week for me. Nothing too terrible or dramatic, just, oh, my back hurts. Just really struggling with that lack of time and, you know, more things to do than I have time to do, and just getting a bit stressed. But it's just so nice when you come up on a day like today, finish work a little bit early on Friday, come up and just get stuck in. There's nothing better. I love it. The worms in here are just amazing. And this is a really thick layer. This is much more than you really need as a rule, but like I say, I want to build this up. I've got plenty of it, so why not? Why not, eh? The worms have started to run for cover already. But there are hundreds and hundreds all over the place in this stuff. It is just brilliant to see. It's just had a few bags chucked on it, and hopefully that'll help to kind of dry it out a little bit, because when it is that wet and that anaerobic, it's probably not great. I can't believe we're losing the light already. Today is, interestingly, it's not the shortest day, but it is the shortest afternoon. So from now, although the mornings might be a bit darker, the afternoons will start to get later. So finally, we'll start to reclaim a little bit of light in the evening, so we can do a bit more. But to be honest, I'm pretty pooped, so I'm going to say thank you ever so much to my Chili Pepper Tier patrons: Tony, Bill, Pam, Louise, Mel, Michael, Denise, Socks in the Garden, and Andrew. Hopefully next episode we'll be starting on a hotbed in the tunnel. I hope to see you then.